In 1895, a newly formed company, Georgia Power and Railroad, had a big plan to tame this mighty Chattahoochee River and build a couple of dams that would supply electricity to the growing city of Atlanta and surrounding areas. It was called the McIntosh Water Power Project, and the construction would flood approximately 2,300 acres. All the land around the river was purchased for this project, but eventually they gave up on this plan. Carroll County acquired most of the land from them in 1978 and established McIntosh Reserve Park for us to enjoy today. This is a beautiful place to visit, and just stepping on this ground, you instantly sense that people lived here for a long time. It's just perfect. Proximity to the river provides fish. The flat grounds around the river are fertile, with low risk of freezing during winters, and there was plenty of game to hunt back in the old days. It's very peaceful and serene park today, but even this place couldn't escape the turbulent events that formed this young nation. In 1970, George Chapman, a former pastor and a radio station manager, enrolled in a graduate school at West Georgia College in Carleton. This is where he first heard of hidden Indian treasure buried on William McIntosh farm. He bought a metal detector and didn't find anything. But then, after doing some more research about this historically important man, he realized that the real treasure is in the story of General Brigadier of U.S. Army and also a chief of the Lower Muskogee tribe, William McIntosh. He was half Scot from his father's side and a Muskogee. His mother, Senoia, was a princess, daughter of a chief from a prestigious Wind clan. William McIntosh's story ends on his farm in 1825 when the Upper Muskogee Red Sticks force of about 150 to 200 warriors came here and killed him, slaughtered all his cattle, burned his cabin and all other structures on that farm, and plundered all his possessions. But what caused them to finally take revenge on their long threat since the Battle of Horseshoe Bend in 1814 that basically broke the Red Stick resistance against the American expansion west? The last straw was William McIntosh signing the Treaty of 1825 in Indian Springs against the wishes of Upper Creek chiefs. The treaty was signed just behind the entrance door of his hotel that McIntosh just recently completed. Amazingly, the hotel still stands today, and it's an historically important museum not just for the whole area, but also for American history.
Canoe. And I have never seen one before. I don't
Me neither. This is treasure.
I think so. And it's so cool, yeah, to look through something that McIntosh looked through 200 years ago.
He was standing out there signing the treaty, and Uhala was hollering at him that you won't see the new moon. From here back, the Indians owned everything. From here forward, they owned nothing. Now, McIntosh's father came over here with Oglethorpe when they set up Savannah. And he married a Creek Indian woman, a Muskogee Creek Indian woman named Senoia Hinahaw. That's where Senoia, Georgia got its name. When he was signing the treaty over here, he was signing it as a minor chief, but he was also a brigadier general in the U.S. Army. And he was standing out there signing the treaty, and Uhala was hollering at him that you won't see the new moon. But didn't bother him. Him was his first cousin, George Troup, whom they named Troup County after, was the governor of Georgia then. He told him, don't worry about it, I'll send soldiers to protect you. So he signed the treaty. What happened was that he left and went to Akron Bluff, which was Coweta County, his plantation. Then Yahulah and about 200 of his closest friends followed him. They burned his plantation, slaughtered his animals, burned his crops, and murdered and scalped him. So he ended up paying the full price for signing this treaty. Now the first timeline is, we call these people the mound builders. And if you go to Macon, you will see the Indian mounds that they have down in Macon.
Been there.
And they have Indian mounds all around the Gulf Coast. So that's why we think that they came from Mexico. We don't know for sure where they came from, but we do know that these are the ancestors to the Cherokees, the Creeks, the Muskogees, the Choctaws. All our local tribes came from these people. We know that as a fact. Then over here is where McIntosh signed a treaty. From here back, the Indians owned everything. From here forward, they owned nothing. Now, the next thing of any importance was the Civil War. It lasted 3 days in Butts County, and only because it rained they couldn't get across the river. And Grant and Lee were never in the state. Sherman was never even in the county.
Yeah, he passed north from here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This was Oliver Otis Howard. He's the guy that burned our courthouse, and he was known as a Christian general. Didn't stop him from burning our courthouse, but he also went on after the war to start Howard University, which is still going today. The next thing of any importance was the 100-year stretch. We had 10 major hotels. This was one of the smaller ones. We had the Wigwam Hotel, which was right across the street in that parking area. It had 137 rooms. It had a bowling alley in the bottom. It was a very big place. We also had a train that came from Flovilla train station down to the right down the middle of the road out here and stopped in front of the hotel. 10 hotels here. These are resorts. And a resort, you have to entertain yourself, you know, and that's what the park was across the street for, for their entertainment.
The Elder Hotel, though, it's another story. First time it burnt was 1900, and the second time it burnt was 1984, both times arson. The first time may or may not have been on purpose for the insurance because it was a losing hotel, and they rebuilt it bigger and better than ever with a huge ballroom. And it really was something to see. And the best thing they did was hire that lady right over here, Miss Texas Elder. And she had business sense like nobody's business. She turned that hotel around. I think she's a very modern, pretty lady. And she turned it around. She put all these brochures out, brought people from all over the country to visit Indian Springs and the Elder Hotel. And you know, really made a go of this place. But she's not the Southern Belle you think of when you think of a Southern Belle from the late 1800s, early 1900s. She smoked cigars, she drank whiskey, cussed like a sailor, and had a gambling problem. Outside of that, she's pretty straightforward.
Who could tell looking at her face?
I know, she's a very pretty lady.
And in 1960, something happened that killed the resort era. Got any idea what that was?
1969, was it Vietnam War? No.
Well,
No.
you'd never guess it. Six Flags. Six Flags and Disney World.
Okay.
And they entertain you. You don't entertain yourself. After that, they went downhill. A lot of them burned until this was the only one left. Also, the first one built, but it's the only one left now. What we decided to do was to bring it back to what it looked like in 1823. This is what it looked like in 1823. What this place looked like when we first took it over. In 1977, we took it over, and this is what it looked like.
Oh my gosh, it was all overgrown.
Oh yeah, there was as much kudzu inside as there was outside.
Oh my gosh.
That's why we had to end up replacing these floors and the staircase.
Okay.
And so then we decided we was going to put it on the National Register, which is that little plaque you see as you come in the front door. But to do that, you have to get the federal government involved. You really don't want to do that. But this is what it looked like underneath. This is what was holding the building up. This thing right here come to about half, right up here to me.
Oh my God, those are big stones.
Oh yeah. And the inspector from the government looked at it and he says, this isn't permanent. We told him it's been here 150 years. We think it's permanent.
Yes.
But he said, no, to be on the National Register, you have to put in a cement block foundation and posts and beams holding up the floor. So in order to do that, we had to jack up the whole hotel. And in that process, the chimneys fell off. So from this point around to what it looked like today, took us 7.5 years.
Impressive.
And we did it all with grants and donations and hundreds of volunteers.
You did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Now this is what McIntosh would have had here. It's called a tower flintlock pistol. A piece of flint rock hits the piece of steel, and if you're lucky, it'll actually shoot. And it shot one shot, and so if you had two people down there you were shooting at, you had to revert back to the
old way.
Old way, and you can see how heavy it is, you know.
Oh my gosh.
It makes a whole lot better club than it did a pistol, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I can imagine it.
Yeah.
This could take you out.
Yeah. Now, McIntosh used that, and he also used this. This was a claymore sword. This sword was made by the Claymore clan in Scotland. He was Scottish, him and his father. And this claymore still makes swords today. They started in the 1700s, and they still today make these swords. And this was a, back when I was in Vietnam, claymore was a landmine. But now, this is where they came from, right here.
I noticed it's not sharp at all. Was
no,
it sharp?
This is a parade sword.
Oh, parade sword.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, it's not sharp, you know.
It's heavy. I bet it's heavy.
And, yeah, it's heavy. Yeah.
Upstairs, everything's 201 years old. The floor, it rises and falls, but it is original. It came with the hotel. Most of the glass upstairs is original because I expect it was easier to break glass down there with a rock.
Yeah.
But I really love the waves in these old panes.
Yeah, you can see imperfections.
And it's so cool, yeah, to look through something that you know McIntosh looked through 200 years ago.
Yes.
Now, this little alcove area here at the top of the stairs, this is dedicated to the Muskogee Creek Nation. Now, this is some of the things they gave us to show the things that they didn't appreciate. They consider that racist, which, I'm sorry, I'm a Georgia boy and I love the Braves. But
so they object to that?
yeah, some of them do. And like the Cleveland Indians, they were the Cleveland Indians over 100 years. And
Okay.
I will admit that's a silly looking Indian head, but I'd rather that they changed the the Indian on it than change the name. It'd been the Indians for so long.
This is butter, right?
Yeah, and the Washington Redskins, which they didn't like that. But it's just maybe I can't understand because I'm not a Native American.
Yeah.
And they really don't like these. The cigar store Indians, we have 3 of them. And they were made in Butts County by someone with a chainsaw, believe it or not. He's got chainsaws from regular size to no bigger than this.
Wow.
And
I think it's beautiful.
well, I think they did an outstanding job. Obviously, they've got great talent.
Yes.
Now, over on the other end over here, we've got what I consider my favorite anyway, Indian artifact. We've got part of a birch bark canoe. And I have never seen one before. I don't.
Me neither. This is first time.
Yeah, it's the only one I ever saw, and it was just that part of it. The rest of it rotted away. But it's part of our collection here, and to me, that's our Cadillac.
This is treasure.
I think so. Now the painting up here is actually made on a board. It's a piece of plywood, and it was painted over 25 years ago by a 17-year-old boy named Dennis Butts, which is kind of cool because we're in Butts County. And the Indians don't much appreciate the nudity that's in it, but I think he was trying to be real. It's one of the chiefs actually told me he objected to that, and I told him that, the boy, when he painted it, he was 17. I said, what were you thinking about when you were 17, Chief? But and he kind of...
He was talented. He's talented.
Very talented, yes. But, the chief kind of, he could kind of see it a little bit better then. And I get it. But still, I think that's accurate. Coming over here in the corner, he's Yahulah that we talked about that was on the rock. They put a tomahawk in his hand, and actually one of the chiefs from Oklahoma, Chief James Floyd, brought this from Oklahoma. He said it was made on the reservation out there, and he just brought it like a year ago. But he gets the weapons because he's pretty much credited with killing McIntosh, but he didn't actually do the deed. He got the party together. There's McIntosh.
Okay.
And the man that actually killed him was a man named Menawa.
Oh, we know who killed him.
Yes, Menawa killed him. Menawa was a war chief. They have different designations for the chiefs. And he would have done it for nothing. He had
tough-looking guy, huh?
Yeah, well, he had a 10-year gripe with McIntosh, because as we said before, McIntosh wasn't just an Indian chief. He also was a brigadier general in the U.S. Army. Mm-hmm. And 10 years prior to that, this is 1825, there was a battle between the Muskogee Creek Indians and the U.S. Army in Alabama, and it's called Horseshoe Bend. And they met on the battlefield, and McIntosh was leading a contingent of U.S. Army against the Indians led by Menawa. McIntosh called for a volley, and in that volley, Menawa caught 8 bullets. Didn't kill him, but he played possum until dark, and he crawled off. And for 10 years, he was telling everybody that would listen, if I can ever find that two-timing Indian, I'm gonna kill him. So he was with the bunch that went to the plantation that day, and when they smoked McIntosh out, it was asked by Yahulah, who wants to do the deed? Menawa said, that'd be me.
So what happened to him?
Menawa?
Yeah.
He lived to be an old man, actually. He lived 40 years after that.
Really? Where, in Oklahoma?
Yeah. He went on the Trail of Tears. He lasted till, I believe he actually made it to about 1866, if I'm not mistaken. But he was not pleased with that. But he did say within a couple of years of killing McIntosh, he said it probably wasn't the smartest thing I could have done. And he said we didn't think this thing through because McIntosh was chosen to negotiate the treaty because he was half white and he was educated in the white world as well as the Indian world. And when he negotiated the treaty, as we said before, he got 4,700,000 acres for 4,700,000 acres in what would become Oklahoma, plus $200,000. Well, when the first thing they did, all these chiefs, as soon as they killed McIntosh, they all went to Washington, D.C., and they hired a white lawyer. And they petitioned Congress saying that McIntosh wasn't a high enough chief to make that kind of deal. So Congress agreed. And at that point, the lawyer left. He said, I've done all I can do for the money you've given me. So you're on your own at that point. And the Congress said, well, don't get so hasty about leaving. You're not going to leave until we make a new treaty. So the Treaty of 1825 was quashed, and they started negotiating for the Treaty of 1826, which these gentlemen were not educated in the white world. I doubt any of them could print their name in English. So Congress really had their way with them. The Treaty of 1826 said 4,700,000 acres for 4,700,000 acres and have a nice trip, no money. So they really lost an awful lot of money at that time. Now you see that these Native Americans, they're actually dressed white more or less. Some of them have ties.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
They were very, very angry about getting thrown out to the west on the Trail of Tears because it was said that we were told when the white man came here, if we would dress like y'all and learn English and become farmers and stop the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, we could live together in peace. He said, we started, we're dressing like you, or, speaking English as best we can, and we are all farmers now. And you send us out west to be hunter-gatherers again. It makes no sense.
Indian Springs State Park was established in 1927 and is the oldest state park in Georgia. This is also considered one of the most sacred places to the Muskogee people. The underground water springs to the surface here and it's rich with many minerals, leading to its unique sulfur smell. Known for its healing properties, the Muskogee people will bring their sick to heal and recover. McIntosh was a good businessman, and there is new evidence that he built another traveler's inn here prior to the 1823 hotel that we just visited. By 1825, he was a rich man. He had 3 wives, 11 kids, large farms, properties, taverns, and a couple of commercial ferries. He knew that the Muskogee people could not defeat the U.S. Army, so he negotiated for the best possible deal for his people. The plan was to move out west and start a new life where they could finally live in peace. Even his biggest enemy, Manawha, later finally understood what he was trying to do and felt sorry for killing him. William McIntosh is buried on his farm, near his home where he was killed, shortly after signing the Treaty of 1825. Today, William McIntosh Reserve near Whitesburg in West Georgia is a gorgeous area, but it wasn't always like that.
This part of the river was so polluted, the state really urged people not to get close to it, not to get on it. It was a public health threat.
Being outside, birding, looking at wildlife, and experiencing nature is honestly a very healing experience. It can be too easy in the type of society in which we live now and the kind of work that a lot of people are doing to lose touch of what's actually sustaining us. And when you come outside and you see how many different kinds of wildlife, how many different kinds of birds, like the white-breasted nuthatch, that are calling the place where you live home, you realize that you're a part of something much bigger.
It is so inspiring to see young people who get it. My friend, did you notice any treasure on this adventure? Did you realize that the true treasure is the people and historical societies of small towns who keep the memory of the people and events that shaped this nation? Thank you to all the volunteers who resurrected this relic of the past to its former glory. So Muskogee and Cherokee people are no longer here, but if you open your heart, you can feel their spirit. It's ingrained in this soil, in this land, in these mountains, and of course, in this river.